I always thought the hospital was a place for healing, for answers. But on that day, it became the place where everything I believed about my family shattered. I was sitting next to my grandson's bed, holding his tiny hand. He'd just come out of surgery, something routine, nothing life-threatening, and my wife was sitting across from me, silent, tense. She hadn't said a word in almost an hour. That's when the door opened, and Pastor Reeds walked in. Now, I've known this man for over 2 decades. He baptized our son. He presided over my mother's funeral. So, when he walked in with that grave look on his face, my heart sank. He sat down slowly, looked me in the eyes, and said, "Your grandson is your son." My first instinct was to laugh, nervously, but my wife didn't laugh. She stood up, stared at me, not at the pastor, not at our grandson, just at me, and then quietly walked out of the room without a single word. That silence? It was the loudest scream I've ever heard. I just sat there, frozen. My thoughts raced through every conversation, every late night, every odd moment from the past few years. Everything I knew, or thought I knew, about my family no longer made sense. And all I could think was, how? How could this even be possible? This story isn't just about betrayal. It's not just about secrets. It's about what happens when you discover that the people closest to you have been living a life behind your back, and you're the last one to find out. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened, how that one sentence from a pastor changed my marriage, my identity, and my role as a father forever. Because when the truth finally came out, nothing could ever go back to the way it was. People say hindsight is 20/20, but I swear, if you had asked me even a week before that hospital visit, I would have told you I had a normal, even boring life. The kind of life that you build brick by brick, routine by routine, until it feels permanent, predictable. My wife, Darlene, and I had been married for 31 years. We weren't perfect, no couple is, but we had what I thought was a good rhythm. We fought sometimes, mostly about little things, money, chores, the thermostat, but we always came back to the same table, the same bed, the same life. Our son, Michael, was born during a tough stretch in our marriage, back when we were young, broke, and clueless. Raising him felt like trial by fire, but we made it through. He turned out decent. He was quiet, kept to himself, never really brought many people home. But he was responsible, a hard worker. And when he told us, at 19, that he had a child on the way, I can't lie, it shook us. Darlene took the news better than I did. She immediately stepped into a grandma role, planning baby showers, buying clothes, talking about nursery. I was more skeptical. Michael barely knew the girl. They weren't together, and I wondered what kind of life this baby would be born into. But the day Liam was born, something changed in me. He was beautiful, tiny hands, big eyes. He looked, strangely, a lot like me when I was a baby. Everyone said so. It became a running joke. "He's got his grandpa's nose. That serious face? That's a family trait." I laughed it off. It felt flattering. I didn't think anything of it. From that moment, Liam became the center of our lives. Michael moved back in with us temporarily. Darlene and I took care of Liam while he worked night shifts. I started reading to him every night, singing the same lullabies I used to sing to Michael. It felt like purpose. After years of quiet drifting in our marriage, Liam brought us back to something real, something innocent. But now, looking back, I realize how tightly Darlene clung to him, how overprotective she was. She never wanted anyone else watching him, not even Michael sometimes. She said she didn't trust young people to be careful. I thought she was just being a worried grandmother. There was also the matter of Liam's mother. She vanished completely. Michael said she left town. No one in our family ever met her, not even once. I always thought that was strange, but Darlene dismissed it as a blessing. "She's unstable," she'd say. "Liam's better off without her." I didn't push. Honestly, I was just happy to have a grandchild in the house, filling the silence. But I should have pushed. I should have paid more attention, because the truth was sitting in my living room, calling me Grandpa, while everyone else was calling him something else behind closed doors. The thing about lies is that they don't explode. They leak, slowly, quietly, and most of the time, you don't even realize you're standing in a flood until it's up to your neck. Looking back, the signs were there. They weren't loud. They were quiet shifts, subtle moments that, at the time, felt insignificant, but now feel like alarm bells I chose to ignore. It started with Darlene becoming distant, not from Liam. No, she was more attached than ever. But from me. She stopped asking how my day was, stopped sitting beside me on the couch. She started sleeping on the very edge of the bed, said it was her back. I believed her. Then there were the whispers, the hushed phone calls she'd take outside. I asked her once, "Who keeps calling you so late?" She smiled, tight, unnatural, and said it was her sister. But her sister lives in Chicago, and the calls came in at odd hours. I remember waking up at 3 a.m. once, hearing her voice through the bathroom door. When I knocked, she came out flustered, said she'd had a nightmare. She never had nightmares before. And the pastor, Pastor Reeds, he started showing up more than usual, dropping by unannounced. Not for prayer, not for Bible study, just to talk. At least that's what he said. Once, I came home early from work and found him and Darlene in the kitchen. The way they stopped talking when I walked in, that pause, that glance they exchanged, it wasn't guilt, not exactly. It was more like fear. Fear of being found out. I asked her about it later. She brushed it off. Said the pastor was just concerned about our son, about how Michael was handling fatherhood. "He's just helping us navigate things," she told me. Nothing more. But I noticed she didn't look me in the eyes when she said it. Michael, too, changed. He became more withdrawn. He used to talk to me about work, about life. But around the time Liam turned 2, those conversations stopped. I chalked it up to stress. New dad, hard hours, no support from the mother. But now I wonder, was it shame? Did he know something? There was one afternoon that still haunts me. I came home and found Darlene crying in Liam's room, just sobbing. I stood in the doorway and asked what was wrong. She said, "He just reminds me of everything I could have lost." At the time, I thought she meant losing him in childbirth. I hugged her, tried to comfort her. But now, those words sound different. He reminds me of everything I could have lost, not did lose. Could have. It wasn't just one thing. It was hundreds of little moments, like Michael avoiding eye contact when Liam called me Grandpa, or the way Darlene always cut off any talk about Liam's mother. She'd say, "The past is better left in the past," every time, word for word. I should have pushed. I should have asked more questions, but I didn't. Because every time I got close to something, they pulled away. And I let them. Because I loved them. I didn't want to see the cracks. And maybe that's the most painful part of all this. Not just that they kept the secret, but that, deep down, I might have helped them keep it, without even realizing it. The day of the hospital visit started like any other. Calm, ordinary. That's the part that haunts me the most. How normal everything felt right before everything fell apart. Liam had been running a fever for 2 days. Nothing alarming at first, but Darlene insisted we take him in. Just to be safe, she said. Michael wasn't home, working a double shift, so it was just the 3 of us. Me, Darlene, and Liam. I remember how small he looked in that hospital bed. His cheeks were flushed, but he was still smiling, still calling me Grandpa in that sleepy little voice. I held his hand, rubbed his forehead, tried to keep him calm, while the nurses ran tests. Darlene, though, she wasn't herself. She paced. She snapped at the nurses. She kept checking her phone like she was waiting for a message that wasn't coming. I asked her if she was okay. She just said, "I hate hospitals." But it wasn't fear. It was guilt. I just didn't know that yet. We'd been waiting for over an hour when the door opened, and Pastor Reeds walked in. Now, I didn't call him. Michael didn't call him, so seeing him there was odd. But Darlene didn't seem surprised at all. She barely looked up. She just nodded and moved to the corner of the room like she'd been expecting him. He sat down next to me, his face heavy. He put a hand on my shoulder and said quietly, "There's something you need to know." I thought he was going to say Liam was sicker than we thought, or that something had happened to Michael. I never, not in a million years, expected what came next. He looked me in the eye and said, "Your grandson is your son." I didn't respond at first. I literally couldn't. My brain couldn't compute what he just said. I blinked, smiled, confused. "What?" I laughed nervously. "What kind of joke is that?" But he didn't laugh. Neither did Darlene. She stood up, slowly, quietly, and just walked out of the room. No explanation, no argument, not even a glance in my direction. She walked like someone who knew the moment had come and had nothing left to say. I turned back to the pastor. "What the hell are you talking about?" I asked. My voice was shaking. He sighed, said he couldn't tell me everything, that it wasn't his place. "But the truth needs to come out," he said, "and it's time you asked the right question." I looked at Liam, still asleep, still innocent, still calling me Grandpa in his dreams. And suddenly, everything started shifting. The similarities, the jokes, Darlene's overprotectiveness, Michael's silence, the missing mother, the weird visit, the late-night calls, all of it. I felt the room spin. "You're serious?" I asked him. He nodded. "You're telling me that's my child?" He didn't say yes. He didn't have to. His silence said everything. I sat there for what felt like hours. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't move. I just stared at that little boy, that boy I thought was my grandson, and saw something entirely different, something terrifying, something irreversible. When the nurse finally came in to check his vitals, I had to excuse myself. I walked into the hallway, found Darlene sitting on a bench, staring at the floor. She looked up. Her eyes were red. She didn't even try to deny it. All she said was, "I didn't know how to tell you." And with that, everything I thought was real collapsed. I wish I could say the truth came out all at once, like ripping off a bandage, but it didn't. It came in pieces, quiet, jagged pieces, each one cutting deeper than the last. That night, I didn't go home. I drove around for hours, not even sure where I was going, just trying to outrun the ache in my chest, the betrayal, the humiliation, the loss. Eventually, I parked at the lake, the same spot I used to take Michael fishing when he was a boy. I sat on the hood of my car, stared at the dark water, and tried to figure out how my life had ended up here. The next morning, I called Michael. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just said, "We need to talk." He agreed. We met at a diner halfway between his apartment and home. He looked tired, older, like he hadn't slept in days, or maybe years. I could barely look at him, and I think he felt the same. I asked, "How long have you known?" He took a breath. "Since before Liam was born." That hit me like a train. "You knew the whole time?" He nodded. "She told me it was a mistake, a one-time thing. She begged me not to say anything, said it would ruin everything. And you went along with it?" I asked. "I didn't know what else to do," he said. "She was my mom. You're my dad. I didn't want to break the family." He looked ashamed, and I believe he was. But it didn't make it hurt any less. He told me everything. How he'd come home early one night and heard voices in the guest room. How he caught her and realized what was happening months before anyone knew she was pregnant. How she spun it. How she convinced him that the truth would destroy all of us. "I didn't even know if it was yours at first," he said. "But then Liam was born, and I knew." I asked him why he didn't walk away, why he didn't leave her. "Because I wanted to protect Liam," he said. "And I thought, maybe if I stayed, I could fix it, or at least make it less wrong." He paused. "But I think I just made it worse." And maybe he did. But how could I blame him, when I had ignored the signs too? I thought about all the years we spent raising Liam, me thinking I was his grandfather, him knowing the truth, the weight of that, the silence. Then I asked the question I hadn't been able to shake. "Did you ever love him?" Michael looked up, tears in his eyes, and said, "I still do. He's my little brother. But he called me Dad, and I let him." That line cracked something open in me. He wasn't the only one living a lie. We all were. I went home that night. Darlene was there, sitting on the edge of our bed. She didn't look up when I came in, just said, "Did he tell you everything?" "Yes," I replied. She nodded. "Then there's nothing left to say." But there was. I asked her, "Why him? Why our son?" She finally looked at me. "I was lonely," she said. "You were working late. You stopped touching me. I felt invisible. I couldn't believe what I was hearing." "So you slept with your son?" She winced. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" I asked. "Explain it to me." She couldn't, or wouldn't. She just cried. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just picked up a pillow and a blanket and went to sleep on the couch. That became our pattern. Nights in separate rooms, mornings in silence, meals shared with hollow eyes. Eventually, I asked her to leave. She didn't fight it. She packed a bag kissed Liam goodbye, and walked out. I watched from the window as she drove away, not knowing if I'd ever see her again, or if I even wanted to. In the weeks that followed, I tried to rebuild something. Not for me, for Liam. He was only 3. He didn't understand what was happening, just that Grandma was gone and Dad was sad. He kept calling me Grandpa. I didn't correct him, but one night, while tucking him into bed, he looked up and asked, "Are you my daddy now?" My throat tightened. I didn't know what to say. I nodded. He smiled and wrapped his arms around my neck. And in that moment, I knew the truth didn't matter as much as what came next, because no matter how he got here, he was mine now, and I would protect him, even from the story behind his name. If discovering the truth was a thunderclap, then what followed was the rain, cold, relentless, and inescapable. People started asking questions. Friends noticed Darlene was gone. Church members whispered about the sudden distance between us. No one asked directly, but their eyes were full of unspoken things. I could feel their curiosity brushing against me like thorns every time I left the house. I didn't give them answers. I couldn't. What would I say? My wife had a child with our son, and I've decided to raise that child as my own. No sentence like that should exist. And yet, it was my truth. I stopped attending church. Pastor Reeds called a few times, left voicemails. "Let me pray with you," he said. But I didn't want his prayers. I didn't want his voice in my head anymore. He'd known, for years probably, and he said nothing. Michael moved out completely, said he needed space, not just from me, but from Liam. I understood, even though it broke me. Every time Liam asked, "When's Daddy coming back?" I had to smile and say, "Soon," even though I knew soon might mean never. There were moments when I questioned everything. I'd watch Liam sleep, hear his laugh echo in the hallway, see his tiny socks beside mine in the laundry, and I'd wonder, am I doing the right thing? Am I healing something? Or just pretending it never happened? But love doesn't need clarity to exist. It grows in the cracks. And I loved that boy, fiercely, even when people stopped calling. Even when Darlene's family sent cold messages, blaming me, for breaking the marriage. Even when my own sister said, "Maybe it's time to put him in foster care." I stayed. I cooked. I cleaned. I cut the crust off his sandwiches. I sang lullabies and read picture books and walked him to preschool with a forced smile on my face. Because I wasn't just protecting him from the truth. I was protecting him from the world's reaction to it. And that weight, it changed me. I started waking up earlier, working less, listening more. I saw things in Liam I'd never noticed before. His curiosity, his humor, his empathy. He had Darlene's eyes, Michael's stubbornness, and somehow, impossibly, my patience. There were nights he'd curl up beside me and say, "You're the best grandpa." I'd smile and whisper, "Thanks, buddy." Then I'd go to the bathroom, shut the door, and cry in silence, because I didn't want to be his grandpa anymore. I wanted to be his father, and I didn't know how to live in both roles at once. Eventually, Darlene reached out. She sent a letter, no return address, just a plain envelope with shaky handwriting. It said, "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect to come back. I just wanted you to know. I still believe you were the best thing that ever happened to me. Please take care of Liam. I'm sorry." I read it once. Then I burned it. Some things don't deserve to live in drawers or memory boxes. Some things just need to end. I never told Liam about the letter. Maybe someday, when he's older, if he asks about his mother, I'll find a way to explain, gently, carefully. But for now, he only knows her as someone who went away. And that's enough. The house is quieter now, emptier in some ways, but also more honest. No more lies. Just me and Liam, learning how to be a family in the wreckage of one. It's been 3 years. 3 years since that hospital room. 3 years since the sentence that shattered my world. And somehow, I'm still standing. Liam is 6 now. He loves dinosaurs, peanut butter sandwiches, and bedtime stories about brave explorers. He tells everyone I'm his dad, and I don't correct him. Not anymore. There was a time I thought identity was something fixed, something solid, forged by bloodlines, names on birth certificates, family trees. But I've learned that identity is also built, choice by choice, moment by moment. I didn't choose how Liam came into this world, but I chose him. And every day, I keep choosing him. There are still hard days. Days when he asks questions I don't know how to answer. Days when I wonder what kind of future he'll face when the truth finally comes to light. Because one day, maybe when he's 12 or 18 or 30, he'll ask the hard question. He'll want to know the story behind the whisper, behind the silence. And I'll owe him the truth. But not now. Now he needs stability. He needs love. He needs bedtime hugs and pancakes shaped like smiley faces. He needs a father, not a past. I've written everything down, all of it, not just for you, but for him, for the day he's ready to understand. Because when that day comes, I want him to know he was never a mistake. He was never the product of sin. He was a child, and he was loved, fiercely, completely, even when the world tried to make him feel like a stain on someone else's shame. As for me, I've stopped trying to go back. There's no normal to return to. That version of my life is gone. But I've found peace in something else, something quieter. I wake up every morning, make coffee, pack Liam's lunch, and walk him to school. He kisses me on the cheek and says, "Love you, Dad," before running toward the playground. And that's enough. That's everything. People still talk. Rumors come and go. Some days, I catch a neighbor staring too long. Some days a coworker makes a joke they think I don't understand. But I don't flinch anymore. Because I've already faced the worst thing imaginable, and I survived it, and somehow, I built something better in its place. I think about Darlene sometimes. I wonder where she is. I wonder if she ever thinks about Liam. If she regrets what she did, not just the act, but the silence, the weight she placed on others to carry the consequences. I don't hate her anymore. I did for a while. That fire nearly consumed me, but forgiveness is strange. It doesn't excuse. It doesn't forget. It just frees you from the chains of your own anger. So I let it go. For Liam. For myself. Michael still sends the occasional birthday card. I don't know if they mean anything. I don't push. He's got his own life now, and I've got mine. Sometimes I wonder if he's still carrying the guilt, if it eats at him the way it used to eat at me. I hope he finds peace someday. I really do. But peace doesn't come wrapped in apologies. It comes when you stop trying to change the past and start building something new with what you have left. And that's what I've done. I started a journal. Not just this one, a real one. Every night, after Lynn's asleep, I write down one thing I'm grateful for, one memory, one small win. Last night's entry? Liam made me a card. It said, "You're the best dad in the world." He spelled world with a U. World. I didn't correct him. That's what healing looks like. Not erasing the past. Not pretending the pain didn't happen, but learning to live with it and still find joy. So if you're watching this, if you've made it all the way to the end, maybe you're here because your own world is cracked. Maybe someone hurt you. Maybe your truth came out in pieces too. Let me tell you something. You're still here. And if you're still here, you still get to choose what comes next. You can be angry. You can be broken. But you can also build. You can choose love, even when it hurts. You can choose to stay, even when everyone else walks away. You can choose truth, even when it costs you everything. And most of all, you can choose to be the one who stays. Because sometimes, the person who stays, they're the real hero in the story. And if you felt something watching this, if you cried, if you paused, if you saw a part of your own life in mine, hit that like button, subscribe,